You started.
I've got to be Josh.
I do not have to be Banks. However, I am Banks, and we are.
You are, but you don't have to be.
I don't have to be Banks. No, I
Really?
could be. I could
Who could you be?
Joe.
But you aren't.
No, you're right. I'm not. But I could.
But you aren't.
You're right. But I could be. I could be.
Could you?
Couldn't I
If
be?
you're already Banks, you can't be Joe. Too.
I could change my name to Joe.
Oh, you can stop being Banks and become Joe.
Correct.
But you haven't.
That's a name. That's only a name.
Oh, what's in a name?
Yeah.
The age-old question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have a topic though, and I'm derailing you from it.
Yes, and we are at places. Yes, my topic is, Josh, what is community?
Comes from the word communal or commune, which means we're all in this shit together. That's community.
So it's kind of like you're in a pool.
Yep.
And
one person pees. There's no pee section in a pool. One person pees. It's everywhere.
It filters out. Okay, so
hopefully.
So what is okay? Here you go. What is the purpose then of community? That's what community is. It's what I mean. But why have a community? I mean, I live in the country. I live alone. I sleep in my bed alone.
But you're not outside of a community.
I am in a community. I just have a lot of space between it.
Right. But you use roads?
Yep.
You go to supermarkets?
Mm-hmm.
You use things other people have helped you create?
Mm-hmm.
That's community.
All right. So the purpose of community is that we work together to make it better. I'm going to help you. You help me.
For everyone.
For everyone. Okay.
Yes. Community is raising the standard of living for everyone.
Oh, boy. You bring up a great point then. Why do we have such a disparity in money than in our country?
Because we don't have community. That's it.
We don't have community.
No. We're not all in this together. Some people don't want to contribute. Some people want the benefits, but they don't want the responsibility. That's not community.
Okay. So they're leeches, basically.
Leeches, toddlers, fascists. There's all kinds of folks.
So why
libertarians?
Why? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do we have that now in our? I mean, what do we have it now? I mean, because they're entitled to not have to pay. They're entitled not have to.
Yeah. What? They're entitled to the benefits without the reward, without the responsibility, the cost. Absolutely.
So they were not always that way, were they?
No.
Their parents weren't that way. So something had to have changed and shifted to make it that way.
The rules are set up that way. Our country, at least this country, is not set up as a community. Capitalism is not community. In fact, capitalism is almost the opposite of community.
Really?
Capitalism depends on individualism. It's if you work really, really hard and know the rules of the game, you can become so much more wealthy than everyone else, and you have no obligation to help anyone in the process. Capitalism is a very selfish form of economic theory. It's an individualistic form of economic theory.
So when someone says I'm a capitalist, they're in it for the money.
They're in it for accumulation. That's what capital is. Capital is money, assets. It's about accumulating capital. That's what capitalism is.
Okay.
And you controlling it. It's you controlling this big pile of capital, not distributing it. Capitalism doesn't talk about distributing the big pile you just accumulated.
In capitalism, how do you distribute it though?
You don't have to. You hoard it. You become a billionaire, or you become worth $120 billion, and then you go create a space penis and fly it to low Earth orbit. That's what you do.
I mean, then what else would you? I mean,
what else are you gonna do? Buy some cigars?
Well, you can buy anything you want.
You just sit on this wealth, and you're under no obligation to distribute it, to help community, to help anyone else.
Now, why obligated? Is like taxes? Is that an obligation?
It's not.
I mean,
so under capitalism, there's no obligation to distribute it. Under community, there is. Because what do we say community is? for the benefit of all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's just
So you can
different.
argue that Bezos is paying his employees $15.75 an hour.
Mhm.
Wait a minute, I'm giving them a basically a living wage. $15.75 an hour is probably a living wage. I don't know. I don't want to argue that. What do you think? You go okay with that? So he's saying, okay, I'm giving 20,000 people or 50,000 or 100,000 people jobs in this country through this business. So there is a community aspect in that. No? Don't think so.
I guess there is in that respect. It's just weird that the disparity.
All right. Okay. So let's tackle the disparity. How do we then? Okay. Here's the story I heard recently. Multi-million-dollar company. The owner made six figures. I think hundreds of thousands of dollars. He decided to do this social experiment, and he said, "You know what? Everybody gets a minimum of $70,000
Yeah.
a year, including me."
I've seen this company. Yeah.
Okay. And they got through COVID. They've grown in COVID. I think they had to shrink a little bit. Everybody kept their job. They just made less money. He's like, you got to make less money. So it was like $60,000 a year. On the other end, it's thriving. It's working. This is actually working. And there's not disparity. There's not this owner that is making mega and this other person that's making mina.
Right. So that's a little more of like, that's a community.
That is a community.
That's how, and if you go back thousands of years, that's what a community was. You didn't have one person in the community who was super wealthy with a lot of stuff, and then everyone else is starving. You just didn't see that. That wasn't the deal.
Well, there are villages like in India now where everybody, even the poor people, well, some of them are poor, even the poor people are taken care of. Everybody's taken care of. Okay, so how did we get there? How did we get here? How did we get to the giant?
You change the rules. You change the rules.
Government, through government or through social mores? What?
All of it. Social psyche. Where if you listen to people in our country nowadays, they have this capitalistic thinking where like, yeah, all you got to do is work hard and you can make it to the top. And it's not that simple for everyone.
Okay, Josh, I'm going to challenge
Poverty
you.
is generational.
Okay, I'm going to challenge you. So you talk about increasing wealth.
Mhm.
Yeah. Isn't that the argument? I mean, isn't that what you're telling them? Hey, listen,
Yes.
you can create wealth in this country.
You can.
Okay. So not everybody does it. Not everybody gets there. But I mean,
But it's not a level playing field. It's not a, we don't have an equal starting line because wealth is generational. Your ability to produce wealth depends on how you were raised and if you were raised middle class versus in poverty.
Okay, so let's talk about generational. What do you say then? We have a death tax. Can we get our heads together?
Oh, we gotta do the Night at the Roxbury.
Oh, yeah. You remember the question?
Well, yes.
Okay.
I'm just trying to tie it back to community though.
Okay.
Because that's really where we want. I want to say in community.
Yeah, I agree.
Community is where you give a shit about someone else other than yourself.
Right.
And to do that, we need to have a psyche of empathy in this country, which we don't have. And we need to have rules that if you're going to make wealth in this country, you have to share that wealth. And we don't have those rules in place.
Share the wealth. Wow.
Yes.
That means you can only save this much every year, or you can only have this much. You can't have this exorbitant amount. Share the wealth. Well, wait a minute, Josh. I don't want to be told what to do. You can't tell me what I can do with my money.
No, I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to want to help other people.
How do you legislate? You can't legislate it.
You can't legislate morality.
How? You're right. Yeah.
You can set the rules to promote it, but you can't make people be moral. That's the psyche aspect.
By promoting it, you're going to be, well, you're going to be telling people what to do.
No, you're incentivizing them. You're not telling them. You're not forcing them.
Okay, so there is this feeling of I have lots of money, bling bling. The younger generation, they like my oldest son. It's all about money for him. I think he's kind of learned his lesson. He just got through a job where it was like, Dad, they're not playing on the up and up here. That it's just I don't want to be a part of that. Anyway, he's learning. He got into it because it was like dollar sign. Cha-ching. I can make what and sell cheap insurance that won't even work
won't
for
work.
anybody.
Yeah.
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 Um,
That's what I'm talking about. That's that empathy versus capital, where we just have to give a shit about someone else other than ourselves if you want a community. And when we do that, we don't need $120 billion in the bank or in assets.
I'm Banked.
I'm Josh.
We are odd places on the edge.
Something.